Punters Show, our final segment of today's show, and we're going to welcome in a man who's, as I said earlier in the show, flown over especially from Hong Kong to be a part of this show. Glenn Pollitt, can you please welcome our special guest?
Great to welcome Alan Aiken.
Good day, mate.
Lovely to see you again, all the way from Hong Kong.
I've come straight from the airport.
Straight from the airport, of course. Hong Kong racing, a lot of fun, great lifestyle.
Fantastic. The difference between being in racing in Hong Kong and racing in Sydney is it's difficult to explain. I mean, if you open a form guide in public in Sydney, you feel, almost like a child molester.
Yes. A disgusting beast.
In Hong Kong, everyone's got the form guide open. You go to restaurants at lunch, business people, they got their early form guide open at the table.
Why haven't they lost that? Why have we lost that love as a general community, and why haven't they? Are they all just sick, desperate gamblers?
There's that, but there's also the fact that they don't have that many race meetings. You're not overwhelmed with racing. Like at the moment, I'm on a break for almost 2 months.
And it's just
that you come here for a break. That's crazy. We have wall-to-wall race meetings.
Yeah, but I don't come here for the racing. I've got family here and that sort of thing.
So
I actually have a proper break off racing.
The 2 meetings a week, and you get to do
two meetings a week, but you do the form probably more intensely than in Sydney. A lot of that's to do with the fact that you've got the time and you fill the time.
Yes.
But the ordinary punter does the form more intensely as well. There's a lot of tiny little factors that people, like you were talking about earlier in the show, that there might be an angle there that somebody's got, and they pursue that tiny little angle that's all theirs, and everyone's got a different one. And you get to the races and they look at the horses, the Chinese punters, and they've got a little angle there. And people have got a different way of looking at the form there. And, all right, I'm not saying it's always correct, but it's the Chinese way particularly. And they do it very intensely. Here, you just haven't got the time to do the form that intensely.
And we hear all the expats that have gone over there and been huge successes through the gambling on the tote. But there's no bookies, it's all tote betting. Are they taking out 14%? What do they take out?
They take out 17.5 from the win. They take out 25 from exotics.
So how does a player go from Australia to Hong Kong and win against that barrier?
Well, I've even posed the question to people since I've been back, is Australia at the point where you don't want bookies? In terms of good punters, having bookies actually doesn't help you because all they do is line up the market for the world.
Okay.
But in Hong Kong, you get overboard betting on, say, a Douglas White, John Si's favourite that's a nice even money chance. It'll go up 1.5 just because they're on it. They've got a huge public following. And you don't have bookmakers then saying, oh no, hang on punters, this is an evens chance.
Getting it out to the evens
market.
and correcting the market.
So somewhere else there's an over. And that's where people win the money.
Has it got a lot to do with the rebate as well? Does everybody get it?
The rebate has only been there for 3 seasons and it's not for everybody. You've got to have 10,000 Hong Kong dollars on a ticket, which at the moment is about 1,400 Australian dollars. It's got to be on that
But
ticket.
therefore it is a great enticement because for players, $1,400 Australian, whilst it's a good bet, it's not a huge bet.
No, and part of the reason that they got that across the line was they said that illegal betting in Hong Kong, which is still quite big, not what it was in the heyday, say 15 years ago, 12 years ago, but it's still quite big, and punters there can get up to sort of 16% rebates from the illegals.
Okay.
And that was the Jockey Club's way of saying, well, hang on, we'll channel some of this money back into legal.
I'm
Because
saying it's a smart decision. I'm saying it's a smart business decision.
They would actually have
It's so
preferred to
different
change the takeouts in the pool, but they couldn't get it through in legislation.
Yes.
They had to take the compromise position, which was the high value ticket rebates.
See, the more we have punters, being able to have success, the better for our marketplace. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, it turns over, it gets people, you almost come down to what they do with poker machines where there's frequent small returns and gets people to keep playing. Well, obviously, racing and poker machines is a little bit of a difference in the disadvantage, but the mentality there of being able to keep people playing is obviously important.
Fantastic. Dal.
All right, Hatch, you've come back, and obviously we're in a crucial moment in Australian racing or Sydney racing. What are your thoughts on mergers, everything else that's been going on politically that you've come back and been able to overlook?
Well, I've got a few sort of out-wide ideas that I have previously discussed with you, Dallas.
Yes.
Like one thing that occurs to me is the most successful racing places in the world, the go-ahead places in the world at the moment, are places like Singapore and Hong Kong, all tote, and they have full control of their revenue. And I think when they talk about the merger of the STC and the AJC, and they say, oh, this what's 174 million or something coming back into racing, all anyone wants to do is say, well, how much prize money will we then have? What kind of grandstands can we build? Instead of saying, all right, how do we get that money and use it to control our revenue source, i.e. the TAB? I mean, the greatest mistake in the history of Australian racing was that the AJC and the STC put up the money to start the TAB and then relinquished control of it immediately. And it's bitten them on the bum ever since. That's really what they need to be looking at with a really longer term view. Now you might say, well, that's, 174 million is not going to get you very far there. But at least the thought process should be, how do we control our revenue streams?
So use the money to control the product.
If they were able to make a bid for a licence or buy a licence somehow using that 174 million, that would make more sense than adding an extra couple of thousand to race prize money.
It certainly makes
it's
more
a
sense
longer
to building
term
bigger
thought.
grandstands.
Oh, well, bigger grandstands. What's that good for? One
Well, no
day
one
a year.
comes. No one comes.
2 days a year.
No one comes.
As you said to me when we were having the chat before, you'll get to 5 years, 10 years down the track and you'll need 175 million and that will not be coming and you'll be gone.
It's already gone.
Yeah.
You've already spent it. You've already put your prize money up. You don't get an extra horse for the prize money. I mean, that's spelled out in Sydney beautifully because the highest prize money is on the Saturdays. You get fields of 7 and 8 all the time. What's the point of adding an extra 5 or 10,000 for those people?
1 point, FBs. They want it. They want the high prize money.
Filthy
Of course they
breeders,
do.
that is.
They want the
breeders. I
high
haven't
prize
even said
money
it.
and they want city racing, which shows up in the catalogue in later years, even though it's been downgraded over the last 10 or 15 years that a city win really doesn't mean that much anymore.
No, it doesn't, especially if they run maidens. But we've got the situation now where they're the lords and we're the serfs. And we're just whacking away for these guys all day, every day. In fact, every participant in racing is basically working for the lords of the manor, which are the FBs.
Filthy breeders.
The filthy breeders. I'm going to make them the FFBs now.
What about
Oh,
the tinkering of the programs, Hats? Like tinkering of feature carnivals, backwards and forwards. Hong Kong just seems to sit on its dig, pride, everyone knows when it's coming. Great for the punter.
Well, and Hong Kong and Australia are very different examples. One of the great things we've got in Hong Kong is that Group 1 horses, for example, no one asks the trainers, what's your program for this horse? They can only run in specific races because that's all the races there are for them. So they can't dodge each other. You don't get a situation where, the champion A and champion B go, oh, we're not going there because he's going there.
Yep.
They have to meet all the time. There's just no other
the
races
punters
for
are
them.
so
and
informed,
the
aren't they?
punters love that.
Yeah.
You know,
So every week it's a gunfight at the OK Corral. They've got to,
Every
they've got to
time we
get
have-
into each other.
Yep.
every time we have a Group 1 race, all
They
the
do.
horses that want to run at that distance have to run against each other. And at times it's an idea that's been used to downgrade horses. Like people used to say, oh, Silent Witness, he beats the same horses all the time. Well, sorry, they're the only horses that are there turning up and he bashes them every time.
Yes.
And, by all means, bring something and try and beat him.
And Hats the Punter show huge in Hong Kong. We've got a lot of all the jockeys.
Yeah, it's got a big following there. I know all the Aussie jockeys follow it, and I think they've steered a few of the other guys into it.
Douglas White?
Douglas, I'm sure. he'd
I'm
be
a big
watching.
fan of Douglas.
He's a great fella, Douglas.
Is he a good guy?
He's a super guy.
Is he, eh?
He'd cop it on the chin, whatever you said.
All right, boys, we better just move along. We are running out of time, but before we go, we've got Group 2 racing at Warwick Farm. Great to see the Warwick Stakes back at Warwick Farm. Neil Evans, your market quickly, please, from Centre Bet.
Okay, we've got Dan Lee $3. There it is there. Sniper's Bullet $4.40. Dealer Principal $7.50. Brilliant Light $7.50. They're the main players, and you go out from there. But a very competitive race. Big one for favourites this race, says the history books. Not so much for long shots. A race, plenty of depth. Normally won by horses just tracking the speed.
Quick
Where
thoughts?
is the speed? Where is the
Good
speed?
question. Where is the speed? I think it's a little bit of a trick race this year.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Dealer Principal run a great race.
First up, yep.
Okay, well that takes it out. You got a tip on the Warwick Stakes, Hats? I know you've been delving.
I'm
into
tipping Dan Lee.
But there is one on the cards you like in the up-and-coming stakes, about 20 to 1, which you tipped as a winner here 2 weeks ago, Slow the Flow.
Yeah, the Silver Shadow.
It just looks to have the right style of racing for that race. It's going to be paced up front. It's got carrying in different form. Did the job the other day. I see it tracking about 7th or 8th. If it gets some cover, it'll pop out at the top of the straight. Will be in the finish.
And I've got one for the up-and-coming stakes. Black Ball. Have a look at the price it started in the size produce against. It's more fancy on Saturday's stable.
SP profile.
SP profile.
$21.
Neil Evans, thank you very much
Pleasure.
for your time.
Yeah, no
Look forward to
problem.
doing it again. Hats Aiken, thanks. Well, your plane's about to go, so we better get you back to the
I
airport.
better get straight there.
Yeah, oh, there's lunch on very soon.
Private jet. Punisher.
Glenn Pollitt, Mounting Yard Mail, how are we going to go this week at Warwick Farm? Pretty important, I would have thought.
We've had a really good couple of weeks. A bit ordinary on Wednesday. Tricky track. Looking forward to bouncing back. Better horses. First, second up. Most important.
And of course, you're watching on RaceNet, go there. And
You
for
can
the
get-
more pearls of wisdom, what can you do? Perler?
Well, you can talk to me anytime, come out to the races, have a chat with me, but you can get my information online, my analysis of the Saturday racing. There'll be an audio file there, or you can buy my 2 sets of markets. Just send me an email.
The best thing about that is come out the track, say hello, get my stuff for free. Just come out and say hello. I'll tip to you.
And get marks for half price too. And if you want to have a bet on the Slaughter of the Quarter too, before centre betters, I reckon we can work something out, can't we?
I think the Senate.
Fair
I hope they get a bet on it. It'll be great for the show.
All right, boys. Great work. Great to have you. Thanks again, Neil and
pleasure.
Hats. Boys, we'll do it all again next week. Don't know if it'll be as much bells and whistles, but we'll look forward to your company when we join you back on the Punters Show.